of the debate, I shall continue by defining classical vigilantism. Classic vigilantes, 1, are established members of an organised committee. 2, are established members of a community. 3, pursue the definite goals, not the intention of random violence. 4, act as a last resort because of a failure of the established law system. So through this definition, we can now understand that this vague definition of taking the law into one's own hands is actually done after these 3 other steps and serves as the 4th step into a shared goal the vigilantes want. And that is, in fact, restoring the government.
To understand the human being without the influence of culture or society. Locke claims that the human or the natural state live together using reason and without any superior power with the authority to judge them. The humans just had to respect the laws that they were born with. The right to live, to have private property, the right of freedom, and to defend those rights. When a man respects the natural laws, the one he harmed has the right to punish him.
Our definition or our premises, I'm going to ask you one question. Why do we pay taxes today? It's because of the social contract. So democracy cannot exist without vigilantism. We say this because if a democracy fails and nobody does anything about it, then basically you're accepting the state's violation of your rights. If vigilantism doesn't occur when the government fails, there will be oppression and infringement upon people's rights. This is because the government is not upholding their side of the social contract. What that means is that the state can play around with your freedom and rights. This is when you lose freedom, thus losing democracy, and the state becomes an authoritative state where there is no exchange of freedom.
So that's completely wrong if you're going to talk about taxes, because you're saying that you talk about vigilantism going against the government, but then you're talking about taxes that enforce the law by the government, through the government by the law. And then John Locke, again, is against the vigilantism, so I don't know why I keep bringing him up. Also, vigilantism is against democracy. Personally, I believe everything and anything can be justified to some extent, but as to what that extent can be justified for the best purposes of the society we live in. While the concept has good intents, you can see that, yes, ultimately you run into the problem where it is a single individual or group in some cases taking the law away from impartial judgment without full examination of evidence. It is far too open to subjectivity and emotional bias to be considered a value.
They talked about John Locke's social contract, and the only counter they made was, oh, it was made in an impractical time when there wasn't any civil governments and we were working for a civil government. And we said, why do you pay taxes now? And Arjun comes up and says, well, it's to enforce law. Agreed, it is to enforce law. Why do you pay it? Because there's an agreement between you and the state to protect your rights. That's why you pay taxes. It is to enforce, but that's like a side statement. That doesn't define the purpose of the taxes. Right, so they haven't counted any of that, basically. And then he brings in emotion and subjective justice because of the what vigilantes come about, sex offender, I didn't see where he came up with that, We clearly stated vigilantism is the last resort. All of the methods of providing justice has been exhausted. So you have to went through the courts, the judges, and the media to provide justice. If that doesn't work, it's then when you take the law into your own hands, and we provided the justification for that by the social contract.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Harris. That was a very funny speech, but I don't understand why windows have anything to do with vigilantism. I think we need to keep things on topic. Nothing really relevant has been presented by this team. If they actually had any decent points to make, they would have perhaps brought up that vigilante justice solves the issues arising from the shortfalls in the police system. In fact, Team Opposition admit there are shortfalls in our police system. Does this mean that we're entitled to take the law into our own hands? For those of us who believe that yes, the answer to this question is yes, I may imagine that we're thinking of a scenario where perhaps a criminal comes into our home, hurts someone in our family, and we feel compelled to get justice for ourselves. However, let me emphasise the word justice, because justice has a meaning that is entirely open to individual interpretation.
Examples of vigilante groups. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the KKK.
Oh.
Let's face it, it's an example of a vigilante group that is not justified. They went out in Southern America and they lynched people based on the colour of their skin. You've got other vigilante groups, such as the ones in London at the moment, who are going around London and saying that vowing to protect Muslim areas from those who disobey God. This is another example of a vigilante group. And there's also groups in the north of England, in Sheffield at the moment, going around the country and stopping and putting a curfew on individuals and immigrants in the town of in the town of Sheffield, which is again taking the law into your own hands. Now, vigilantism attracts extremism. Living in a democracy means that you have every opportunity to enact change if you want to, by peaceful means, so that you can have a peaceful protest outside the House of Parliament. You can have a strike, you can have a petition, but what you can't do is go around taking the law into your own hands like you're some kind of Batman or Robin Hood.
We've decided that the opposition have won by 5 points. Very close match, very close round debate. I think it was excellent. We're very, very proud and very impressed. You did really well. And we will write notes up and give feedback to both teams. But well done, that was amazing. I think you should be really proud of yourself.